What is up, everyone? Barricade here, and I am finally bringing you guys another episode of Gears of War lore. I know I haven't made an episode of this in like over a year. There hasn't been too many, too many things I can talk about when it comes to the Gears of War lore because, I've read the novels and played the games, and, eventually I ran out of stuff to talk about. But there's actually a few things I wanted to talk about in this episode. I'm going to try to make it at least 10 minutes long. And I wanted to talk about not one but two things that I felt were very interesting and worth talking about, and to make a Gears of War lore episode on. The first thing I want to talk about is actually one huge misconception when it comes to fans of the series and just people in general that keep making this huge misconception, and it annoys me so much. For some reason, fans believe that when it comes to the entirety of the Gears of War lore, that the cog came from some other planet or something, or either from another planet, or they colonized Earth and then they started taking the emulsion and basically invaded the Locust, like kind of like the movie Avatar, where they came and started stealing stuff from the aliens, and then it turned into a war and all this crazy stuff. And for some reason, fans and other people believe that the Gears of War storyline is similar to that, where basically the Cog soldiers basically stole stuff from the Locust, stole the emulsion, etc., etc., and that the humans are actually the bad guys in the storyline. That is entirely false. There is nothing in the entirety of the series that has ever hinted to anything like that whatsoever. First of all, in the series, they have never shown the Cog to have excessive space travel technology. There's never been anything crazy like that to hint that they came from another planet, that they came from Earth and live on Sierra, or whatever theories fans have thrown out there. There's nothing in this entirety of the series that hint in any type of direction like that. That the humans came from another planet and are basically invading the Locust and they're the bad guys. Nothing. And not to mention, there has been humans living there on the planet itself, on planet Sierra, for hundreds, if not thousands of years. At the beginning of the series, um, basically it was stated, the Pendulum Wars happened and lasted for 79 long years, and even before that, there was horrible folk tales about these creatures that lived underground, and the humans knew and kind of knew about the locusts even before the Pendulum Wars. They kind of had like creepy stories about creatures coming from the ground and stealing children that were bad. And then there's this really crazy folklore story that I'll actually bring up a little later in this video about, a little girl that was stalked by a six-legged demon that came from underneath her house, and just stuff like that, crazy stuff like that. So they knew about the creatures that lived in the planet, and probably even the locusts themselves, prior to the wars and everything. And the humans never ever tried to steal anything. They never invaded the Locust. They never did anything like that. And I have no idea why fans out there believe that, the humans stole stuff from the Locust, started the war, that they are technically the bad guys in this entirety war and everything. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. And I have no idea where they got this idea from. It's not true, basically. It's not true at all. If you believe that, there's nothing in the story to hint that at whatsoever. There's nothing, the humans didn't steal nothing, the humans didn't do nothing at all. Basically, the locusts came out of the ground and started attacking the humans, and the locusts actually were completely non-existent to the humans, besides, these horrible folk tales and stuff. Prior to E-Day, the humans didn't know anything about them. They didn't know anything about the locusts at all, besides just random scary stories. They even went into the hollow, and well, not actually the hollow, but they went underground and found emulsion and stuff like that, but they never ran across the locust themselves. So they even went underground, but they never actually found the locust. And one other thing I want to talk about. That's the first thing that I'm going to talk about in this episode of Gears of War lore, and it goes hand in hand with the other thing. And I'm actually going to bring up some crazy theories on the origins of the locust, and basically what I believe could have been the exact origin of the locust. Nothing has been confirmed yet, but it could possibly be true, and it has something to do with the sires. If you remember in Gears of War 2, Marcus and Dom go to this facility called the New Hope facility, and they find these creatures that are like basically test tube creatures that were dormant for years and years, and they Marcus and Dom accidentally released them, and they're called sires. And they were created by some crazy scientist named Niall Samson, who basically created these creatures either by accident or on purpose. I'm pretty sure it was on purpose because he called these things his children. He called them his children, and he really cared about them so much. And the thing that was really crazy is this whole entire craziness happened at the beginning of the Pendulum Wars, around that time, early Pendulum Wars, or even before. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was at least at the very beginning of the Pendulum Wars. And he was, either operating on them or trying to cure them of emotion sickness. These people were getting really badly mutated due to emotion sickness. It wasn't exactly lambency, but they were actually getting mutated due to direct exposure to emotion. It was even worse than rust lung. They had cases of rust lung, but it was actually worse than rust lung to the extent that they were actually getting mutated. And he actually kind of like created these things either by I've heard theories that he created them by mixing them with locust DNA and created these crazy locust human hybrids. It's either that or that they were just products of his creations and mutations of emotion. Either way, these creatures were very different. They didn't look like locusts. They didn't look like humans. They looked horribly mutated, and they had just weird claws, and they were very vicious. And the chairman found out about his experiments and shut down his facility. And at the very end, after this all of this happened, now Samson leaves his facility and goes into Mount Kadar and takes his quote unquote children with him. But the thing that was crazy is that the Mount Kadar that he went to is actually the same exact place that the Queen's Palace ended up becoming. That's where the Queen's Palace is located, the same exact place where Niall Samson took these creatures. And here's some theories I want to throw out for you guys. And while it's not exactly canon or stated out to be true, I want to throw out some theories on what I believe is the origins of the locusts themselves. Basically, what I believe is either one or there's one. It's basically two theories here, and they kind of are similar, but they both come out with the same product. Basically, I believe that Niall Samson either one was combining locust human DNA and was creating these locust human hybrids, which were the sires. He in turn actually created the perfect hybrid, which ended up becoming the queen. He had there was diary entries of a young girl who actually took the experiments differently in her DNA. She didn't get as mutated. She didn't change as bad as the other people did. The other people turned into these creatures. She didn't. And yet he said he took these children with him to Mount Kadar. So either he created the perfect locust human hybrid that that which was the young girl, and he took her to Mount Kadar, and since she was a combination of human and locust, she was somehow able to end up taking over the locust while they were underground already, and she basically led them and turned on the humans because she probably hated the humans due to being a product of an experiment, and also due to the fact that she actually deemed the humans unworthy of the service because of the fact that she hated the fact that the humans fought one another. That's the thing that was kind of ironic when it came to the humans. Even though we as humans are more civilized than creatures like the locusts, we do in fact fight each other a lot and try to kill each other. Whereas the locusts, while they're very violent and pretty much insane, they work together. They're not as violent towards one another. And that's why she deemed the humans um, unworthy of the surface, because even though the locusts are crazy creatures, she in fact has an army that works together and a species that works together better than humans that fight one another. The other theory is pretty much the same thing, but the only difference is instead of being a product of a locust human hybrid, I believe that possibly Niles created the locust and that the sires are actually early forms of the locusts themselves. And when he took them to Mount Kadar, they were able to mutate and fully turn into locusts. It's either one or the other. I kind of believe the first idea first, mostly due to the fact that I think the locusts were probably underground even before his experiments. I don't think he necessarily created the locust, but there's a possibility that he did. And the one thing that actually makes me believe that he might have actually created the Locust is one simple actual journal entry that was, a collectible in the New Hope facility itself. And it made me really think when I read it. It made me think, holy crap, he probably did make the Locust, but I don't know. It was a journal made by Dr. Stephanie Zimmer, and basically what the entry said was Doug was right. These things, these children, as Niles likes to call them, are completely out of control. It's like working with rabid dogs, except they're much smarter, more conniving, and they're brutal, sadistic even. It's like they were bred to kill and torture. These things are going to be the death of us all. This is my final entry. I'm getting the hell out of here. I hope this place burns to the ground. And basically, right there, she's saying that these creatures are very smart and very evil. They're very smart, evil. They go out of their way to torture and kill. Almost kind of even talking about the locusts themselves. It matches them so perfectly when she said that. I was reading it and I just, wow. It makes me wonder, if he made them or he just made the queen. But anyways, guys, I'm running out of time here. If you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe. And I'm really happy to finally bring you guys another episode of Gears of War lore. I know it's been a long time, but yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think that, Niles created the Locust or he created the Queen? There's obviously a connection, guys. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching and take it easy.